Yeah, no, thanks for having me. Oh, what do you have? You have water, orange juice, guava juice, and then a third mystery juice that you're not sure what's in there, but you made it about a week ago, so you're still kind of on the edge. You don't even know if it's good or not. Like, you don't know what fruits you put in, so you can't look up, like, oh, when do those fruits expire? So I don't know if I'm poisoning you or not, but I'm going to offer it to you because I'm not going to drink it. That's what you do when people come over to your place. You kind of put out the snacks that you're like, oh, these are premium snacks that I bought just last night for company. But then I'm going to mix in some mystery snacks that I probably got gifted a few months ago, and I don't know if they're good or not. So I'm going to see if you like them. And then if you kind of make it an hour into the night, then maybe I'll pick at them. Yeah, I'll put them on the charcuterie, give them a bit of an option. That's kind of vile, right? Invite people over, create like a roulette charcuterie board. Yeah, let's see. If you handle it, maybe I'll dip into it. But I'm going to let you be the guinea pig. As you probably know, as a frequent listener of this podcast, I know you all are. About 2.5 years ago, right, I fucked up my right Achilles. Now, it didn't get damaged or anything. Like, they've done the x rays, they've done the, what is it, the CAT scans? Not the CAT scans, the MRI I got a year ago. There's no visible damage to it, but I haven't been able to walk properly for the past 2.5 years. Every time I take a step with my right foot, it is a conscious decision and it is eating away at my mental. But one thing I've had to do for the past, like 6 months is these stretches. Sometimes I'm good at doing them, every other day as I'm supposed to, and then sometimes, a week may pass and I don't do them. However, I was doing them this week and I was stretching, right? Putting my foot forward and kind of leaning on it. And it felt so intense, and I said, holy, and then I didn't want to curse. So I said, holy smokes. And then I was like, holy smokes. Yeah, yeah, I like the sound of that. Holy smokes. Yeah, I can get used to that. I don't know why, but when I said it, I was like, that sounds right, right? Holy smokes. Jesus hitting a blunt. No, that's not. We shouldn't joke about that. I'm kidding. But they do call him the Most High, right? So you got to wonder why do they call him that. But yeah, I said holy smokes, and I was like, that, you know what? It's like when you wear a shirt for the first time and it fits properly. Like it's like, oh, it has a cropped fit or whatever. So size up. You want it to fit regular, and then you do size up. Comes in the mail. You put it on. You're like, wow, this was tailored for me. That's crazy. Now I'm going to buy every shirt that comes out in this style, this silhouette from this website because I like it so much. That's one thing you learn as an adult, right? Once you find a shirt from a place you like, you buy one in every color. But then you don't wear one in every color, so you end up buying like two or three more white and black ones because you're like, oh, that's the color I wear. And then a third, right, mystery color. There's always a third mystery thing with adults, right? There's like two things they're really set on, and then there's a third thing that they're not too confident about committing to. So then they just kind of like offer it as a thing, whether it be a charcuterie board, a t-shirt color, or like a hobby, right? Any adult you talk to, they're like, yeah, I run, I bake, and then I read. And they're like, what's the third one? I've just been reading recently. Oh, okay, what books have you been reading? And they're like, fuck, I just picked up a book yesterday, and I don't know the title of it, and I haven't read a page since yesterday. So now I feel like an idiot. And that's kind of like the MO of all adults. There's like two confident things, and then a third, the tertiary. If you kind of hone in on that and apply pressure, they will crumble. So if you want to make an adults cry, just ask them what their 5 year plan is. But you can also ask them what's the third thing in their list of anything you ask them. What's your favorite food? Oh, well, I like, also when you ask them for like favorites like that, they always say like a save option, a really like rare option of this one time thing that they experience. Always esoteric, right? They always say like, oh, well, pizza, I really liked this kangaroo jerky we had down in Australia. Sorry, down under, I guess I could say. And yeah, I've been liking celery. Celery? You eat celery often? I don't. I don't know why I said that. But that's what adults do. There's like two real answers, and then there's a third one where they're like, that should balance out the first two. The third is always a chaser, right? When you take a shot, people always say, oh, take juice, Gatorade, soda, to chase it, make it a little more palatable. That's what adults do with their list. They'll say a couple things that they're like, yeah, that's what I want. And then they'll say a third thing because they're like, I need to kind of spread this out a little bit, make it good, make the place look nice, right? Which is funny because it's not even an even answer. It's an odd answer in more ways than one, but it does work. They complement each other. It's a triangle. It's quite beautiful. But yeah, I said holy smokes. I think I'm gonna start saying that a lot. Holy smokes. Because that's one of those ones people don't say. Like I remember a few years ago, there's a YouTuber I would watch, and he and his friend would always say, "What the French toast?" Like they would always go into it like that because you think they're gonna curse, but then they don't. And I was saying with the French toast about 2 years ago, and it was catching on amongst my peers. And then I stopped. But then they kept saying it. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. So I think Holy Smokes is going to be my new endeavor. You know, they say as an adult, you should have a hobby. Well, ideally 3 hobbies. And what are yours, Garv? Well, I like reading, baking, and making up phrases. What was the third one? I didn't say it. Did you hear the third one? I didn't say one. But you know, last week I talked about, yeah, my fucking barber or hairstylist, whatever you would call the person that does my hair every 6 weeks. They were talking about how, oh, I think the sides of your hair are thinning, the front of your hair is thinning, but don't worry, don't worry. I've been getting compliments. Even last week, I got a comment on a YouTube video, right? I'm talking about engineering stuff online, and still I got a comment that said glorious hair. And you might be like, wait, why do you have a screenshot of that, Garv? Did you really see that and think, oh, I should take a screenshot of that so I can remember it and look back on it and be like, see, there is someone that likes my hair. Yeah. No, it's exactly what I did. I don't know. You're quite perceptive, you. You You and I would get along, I think. Huh. What are you doing later? Oh, and now I'm taking it too fast? Oh, okay. Fuck me for trying to make a goddamn adult friendship. That's another thing. Adults, they have like 2 close friends, and then the third friend they list, yeah. Yeah, we hang out once every 4 months, but I don't know. Like, I'll probably, hit them up if we need another person, but they're not like my go to, you know? Now I got a family and 2 to 3 hobbies I'm kind of dabbling in. I don't really have time for that many friends. So, really, the third friend, I'll see them maybe if they're lucky a handful of times a year. But yeah, if you ever run into an adult with a list of 3, apply some pressure on that third one. They'll crumble. But no, I got a comment. It said glorious hair. I was like, oh, me? Wow. Hmm. Interesting. I I don't get that often. In fact, I get the opposite quite often when I go to get my goddamn haircut. But no, thank you. And Mr. Entire Horse, you left me a beautiful comment last week. I just want to say, hey, thanks for the compliments on the hair. I don't need them. No, I'm hanging on quite well. That's not, you guys aren't pulling me off the ledge. No way. But I do appreciate them. You must know that. Very appreciative. And I'm very appreciative of all compliments I get. And you know what? After last week's little train wreck of a, you know, observation on my head of hair, I was getting showered with compliments. I think the universe was trying to even it out. They were like, sorry, that was fucked up. We shouldn't have done that. Here's some good stuff. Because I went to a Kings game actually last Monday. It was the Kings versus Lakers. Usually I wouldn't go out on Monday night because, I edit this podcast and, it's the first day of the week. You don't want to start out too hot. Then how do you match it, But I gotta see LeBron James in year 23 in the flesh, right? Well, I went and saw that game, made sure I finished this podcast. I finished editing and exporting this podcast, but then there wasn't enough time before I left the game. That's why I still came back that night, and I think this episode went up at 10 or 11 p.m. However, I went to that game, and at halftime, I went to use the bathroom as I usually do, and I was behind these 2 guys in the bathroom. But except we weren't in the bathroom yet. You ever go to a public restroom? I try not to, but sometimes, you find yourself having to. And these public restrooms, there's a line that starts to form, and it always goes outside the bathroom. Well, if you go to a sports arena, specifically Golden One Center, there's just a bunch of people walking around. That's where the line goes out to, right? So you're amongst the crowd. So the end of a line is never too clear, right? It's a bit of a nebulous thing. There's a lot of people just wandering around, so you gotta do the thing where you're like, you in line, they're like, oh yeah, yeah, and then you get behind them, and then the line starts to move, and you're like, oh, they're in the line for the fucking snack bar. No, I gotta find a place to, get rid of some snacks, if you know what I mean. But then you make eye contact with people, and you go, yeah. And then it's like a non-verbal thing. But sometimes you gotta be like, hey, are you about to shit or piss out of your body? And they're like, yeah, I'm about to do that. You too? I'm like, 100%. Oh my God. What are you doing later, huh? We have a lot in common. But I did that, and it was weird. Sometimes at the end of these lines, people aren't too committed to the line. They kind of just loiter, and then you get in line. They're like, excuse me, I was in line. I'm like, I could find some rules online or in some documentation about how you were not even part of the line, okay? You were very off and to the right, okay? So but that's fine. I have social etiquette, okay? The social contract says that people are stupid as fuck. So it's like you gotta really account for a lot of wiggle room. Anyways, this guy, there were 2 dudes, and the second one, he was kind of sagging off. So he looked like he left the line. So I was like, oh, I just got right behind his friend. And then he came back, and I was like, oh, you're back. I was like, here, you belong in front of me. You were with him. He was like, yeah, I was. I was like, oh, yeah, no, hey, no worries on my end. And then he hugged his friend and then gave him a kiss. I was like, oh, they're a couple. And then he gave me an up down look and he said, what is it? I have it written down right here. Oh yeah, when he hugged the guy, he said, "This is my man right here," and he put his arm around him and then kissed him. I was like, "Oh yeah, hey, no worries." And then he looked me up and down and said, "Oh, you know what? You're very good looking." And I was like, "You know what? You guys are quite good looking yourselves. So thank you so much. I appreciate that." And I was like, "Did I just gay bait? Were they?" Again, I don't know much about things, but I was like, "Should I have not said that back? Was that fucked up?" Because imagine like a straight couple. That's the thing. We were all guys, so I'm like, "Oh no, this is a fine thing to do." But imagine if there was a straight couple and one of them was like, "You're quite good looking." If I came back, someone should have died, right? So yeah, no, but I got a good compliment. That's what I took away from that. I was like, "Oh my god, you guys think I'm good looking? That's so crazy." And then even at work on Tuesday, I had a call in the morning, fresh off of this compliment, not even 12 hours later. And I'm on a call, and one of the guys, usually at work, sometimes during a call, that'll be the first time I talk to someone because I don't live with anyone. So if I get on a call at work in the morning, well, that's basically the first time I'm talking, and my voice is a little deeper in the morning. So I join the call, and everyone says hello, hello, and I, get in there, I say hello, good morning, and then someone even said, I've worked with this person for I think 3-4 years now at this point, and he said, "Oh wow, Gauruv," that's how he says my name. He said, "Gauruv, you have a very FM radio voice. Like if you went into broadcasting, that would make a lot of sense." I was like, "Oh, wow, that's hmm. How many meetings do you have in the evening? You want to maybe get together sometime?" That's my go-to line. "Oh my god, did you just compliment me? Do you want to I don't know, we should hang out more." I don't know. There's so many people in this world, billions, they're saying. I don't know. I have to do my own research. I'm a big do your own research guy. But no, I would have to do my own research. But I think some people are saying there's billions of people out there. And how rare is it to find a kinship as close as ours? We should get together. Yeah. But then even then this got me to another point, which is I realized I was talking to a friend of mine this week, and I realized, we were talking about something, and I remembered the name of a dog she used to have. And I was like, "Oh yeah, that's your dog named this." I'm not gonna say the name of the dog, but I was like, "That's your dog that you had then." She was like, "Yeah, wait, how do you have such a good memory?" And I was like, "Oh, that's a very nice compliment." And it made me realize there's something really nice when someone identifies something about you that other people have identified. Something I've run into in life is you'll have friendships, very good friendships, or just relationships with people. Maybe it's not friendship, maybe it's not romantic, but people and they know stuff about you, right? There's at least a rapport there. And something that happens, right? Friends come and go, but something that happens with the death of a friendship, or maybe not even the death, but the, dissolving of a friendship as time goes on and it just, loses its footing, is that you also feel like a part of you has died. Because people, right? I have a theory. I've run this theory by many people and I've kind of coined it myself, but I have a theory of 1,000 selves. And the theory is that thousands of versions of you exist. And that is true because everyone you interact with, there's a version of you that exists in their mind. So in reality, there is not just one version of you, there's a thousand and thousands of versions of you, depending on how many people you interact with. Everyone that listens and watches this podcast, you all have a version of me. And then the people I talk to in real life, they all have a version of me. Now, those aren't two versions I just talked about. Those are hundreds and thousands of versions because each individual looks at me a different way. And so sometimes when you have a friend, right, they have a version of you. And that version, right, has a few traits associated with it. Maybe they say, "Oh, this person is good looking, funny, smart." I'm just using myself as an example. No, but these people, right, they have traits about you. And sometimes I think you find identity in that, right? Some of your closest friends, the way they see you, the lens in which they identify you, right? It's probably a kaleidoscope. It's multifaceted, right? There's so many traits that they have when they think of you. And sometimes if you guys grow apart, it's kind of hard to come to terms with that because you start to think, "Oh, did the version of myself also die with that friendship?" Right? Let's say a friend of mine thinks I have a good memory. And this has been a thing. I've had friends that I unfortunately no longer talk to, but they would always credit me with having a good memory. And so when this other person this week said, "You have a good memory," it was kind of reassuring because I'm like, "Oh, see, there is proof that that is true about myself." Now that shouldn't be the case, right? You should just have that confidence or whatever belief in yourself that no, these are the things about me, and you shouldn't rely on other people's identification of them to feel validated, but it is the truth, right? It doesn't matter what things are supposed to be and what they're not, but it is true. You get validation from other people, and I'm no different. And I felt that way this week, right? Because when this person said, "You have a good memory," I was like, fuck, you know what? I was like, I don't know. Dude, like my best friend, Andrew Hoyer, we've been friends for 18 years, and he credits me with having a good memory. Like 2 weeks ago, we were talking about something. I was like, oh, didn't that happen on like this date? And he was like, what the fuck? How the fuck do you remember? He was like, I was telling my wife, he's married now. He was like, I was telling my wife, like, Gauruv has such a good fucking memory. And I didn't show it out loud, but inside was like, fuck yeah, still got it. It's kind of like that idea, right? You're only as good as your last piece of work. And I feel like that applies to me with like human relationships. Because it's like, fuck, maybe I don't have a good memory. But then every time someone reminds me, they're like, you know what, you have a good memory. I'm like, you know what, I do. And so it was nice to hear that this week. Because sometimes, right, I remember I did have a good friend, and they would always credit me with like, you have such a good memory. And I don't really talk to that person anymore. And so sometimes I get in my head where I'm like, fuck, do I have a good memory? Because that person knows, but like that person doesn't exist, right? I guess in my world anymore. So do I? And I do. But yeah, I thought about that this week. And I think that applies, right? Sometimes, right? If you're only as good as the reviews, sometimes actors and celebrities, like, I don't read reviews. I just do my work and I go home. But I'm like, shouldn't you get a little finger on the pulse? Just read some good, have your manager or your agent, like, kind of siphon through those things and kind of give you some good ones or maybe constructive ones that aren't too hurtful, and then maybe go from there, right? Because that's a thing you run into with like older comedians. They do their act, they're very in touch with the people, and then they get kind of rich and, famous, and they start living lives that no one can relate to, right? The people that they are talking to, and then they just kind of, it's weird. Their stand up or their comedy feels off because you're like, what the fuck are you talking about? Because they quite literally lose touch. So I think that's what's nice about having friends that like validate the traits that you already know you have. It's a way to assure yourself like, oh, I am still in touch with people. I am still who I think I am. I think that's the thing. So yeah. Wow. Look at us. And you agreed with every word I said. What are you doing later? God, and you just have an infectious smile, don't you? I also got told I was in a group setting, and there was this girl I was talking to, and never had talked to this girl before, but I was just talking to her, and like 10 minutes into talking to her, she was like, you're like a really good listener, and you make like ask me questions that actually make me think. Like that's feels like that's very rare. And she was like, you would make a great interviewer. Like if you just were asking people questions, like I think you would do so good at that. And I was like, fuck yeah. And so yeah, that was another moment. I don't know. It was after such a this is just the duality of man, huh? The highs and lows of life. Yin and yang, they call it. I don't know, actually. But, after my barber cut me down last week, I spent the whole week getting built up by a bunch of great people. So I'm going to spend the next 5 weeks building myself up so I can be emotionally ready to get my hair cut again. In what? End of February or something? So I also decided, I don't know why I did this, but I've been like playing video games a little more recently because I think it's nice to take time to like do those recreational things. And unfortunately, I regret playing CS. What the fuck is that? What's going on over there? Speaking of being in touch, you gotta really understand how many different worlds are out there. I joined a CS game. I played CS because there's a streamer that I like watching. I don't watch his streams because I don't watch live streams like in real time, but I watch all his VODs. His name is Squeaks, and he plays a lot of like CS and Minecraft, but he plays a lot of CS. He's been playing a lot of CS recently. So I was like, oh, you know what? It's fun watching him play. I'm like, I should give it a shot. And the first game I fucking joined, there's this guy, and he just starts over the mic. He starts going, or no, this wasn't even the first thing. First, someone on our team typed in the team chat. They said Latina baddie or Asian baddie. And then this guy responded without a skipping a beat. He goes, oh, rice baddie for sure. Dude, I'd so take a rice baddie. I was like, man, I forgot how the internet and CS is specifically, I'm like, it's just the worst people in the universe. And then that guy, now that he's had permission to talk, he's like, you know what? I've scoped out the vibes on this team. They would love if I asked this. He was like, yo, Millie Bobby Brown or Jenna Ortega? Which one? And then no one would respond to him. He asked it, I swear, 7 more times. And then he was like, all right, they're not biting on that one. Maybe I take a different route. He was like, prime Megan Fox or Madison Beer. And then they took the bait with that one. The guy that said the original question, Asian baddie or Latina baddie, he was like, yo, I take Megan Fox. And he was like, really, dude? And he was like, yeah, man. You ever watch Transformers? He's like, what the fuck? No. That old ass movie. And then the other guy was like, what the hell? Like, how old are you, dude? He was like, dude, I'm fucking 14. That's an old ass movie. I was like, what are we? Now, I bet he's not 14, but he at least is maturity wise. He's 14. Like, he seems on the younger side. He's probably like fucking 19 or 20 or 21 or some shit. But like, he's 100% 14 in spirit. And then now that, he's got people talking, he's like, oh, dude, he comes back to it like he didn't ask it 8 times before. He's like, dude, while I have you, Millie Bobby Brown or Jenna Ortega? And then the guy was like, Millie Bobby Brown. And then the guy was like, what? Really? He was like, yeah, but like young Millie Bobby Brown, like from Stranger Things. And then the other guy was like, bro, wasn't she like underage? He was like, yeah, that's why I prefer it. I'm like, what the fuck are we doing? What? You have no idea. If you don't play video games, there are so many fucking worlds out there that you couldn't even fucking understand. It is insane what happens with that. And then we got in this situation, right? I don't know if you know what CS is, Counter-Strike, but it's a 5v5, if you play Call of Duty, it's just search and destroy. And so it's 5v5, one side needs to plant, one side needs to defend. And so I don't know what side I was on. I think I was defending. And it came down to a 1v4 situation. Everyone on my team died. It was just me, 4 people alive on the other team. And I fucking killed 2 of them. And then I got taken out. And then this guy started calling me the R word. I was like, what the fuck? And I was like, man, fuck this. I hate. What am I doing? I'm like, I forgot how toxic like the fucking online world was. Because when I play that game, I like playing Smite 2. Like, no one uses their mic. So it's like, whatever. The worst you can do is like get typed to. And Smite has it built into where like any slurs or bad words get auto-censored, auto-deleted. So you don't see a lot of shit. CS is so disgusting. It's crazy. But it's kind of charming in a way, right? It's got that early 2000s vintage feel again, where people are just like unapologetically the worst people you know. And I think there's something sweet about that. Huh. But speaking of immature conversations, I really do think you have to be mature to have mature conversations. That's a belief I strongly hold. You see, I've had conversations with people where, you talk about just weird shit, right? Go into the deep, dark alleyways of like, sexual conversations are inappropriate. Oh, would you rathers? And then some people are like good at it, right? Because you can just treat it with a lot of sincerity and it's nice. But some people, they don't know how to have a mature conversation or an immature conversation because you have to be mature to be immature in a tasteful way. I truly believe that. If you are not mature, you are like, I don't know if you guys have watched The Office. It's a little show. But if you've watched The Office, if you are immature, every conversation feels like when Michael Scott is making every improv situation end with someone getting shot with a gun. That's what it feels like. Because every time you have like a immature conversation with someone, it's always like, oh my God, did you say the word dick? Shut the fuck up. Can we talk about this or can we not? Now, I can't give you an example of an immature conversation because I don't want that on those words to come out of my mouth on camera and be uploaded to the internet. But do you know what I'm saying? Like you can get into a weird, problematic conversation, but then there'll always be an asshole that's like too immature to deal with it. And they're like, oh my God, what the fuck? Or they'll like just shoehorn like a dick joke. And you're like, what are you doing? A dick should not be there. Okay? And if it is, don't fucking shove it in there. Don't force it in. Okay? Be tasteful with your dick. Well, with the dick you're using. You're being a fucking dick. How about that? Okay? And I think if you get it, you get it. There's nothing else I can do to expand on this that would make you understand if you don't. And I think if you get it, you get it. If you know type shit. But it is true, and that's a theory I strongly hold. With my theory of 1,000 selves, I also hold the theory that to be mature, you have to be immature. Or you have to, sorry. Maybe this guy should study his fucking theories a little more. No, to be immature, you have to be mature, or else it's just a wash. Do you get what I'm saying? Anyways, we're 3 weeks in the new year, right? January 19th, huh? What have you accomplished? No, go ahead. Write it down. What have you accomplished? Put it on a piece of paper and turn it in to me by the end of the day, huh? Because you should have stuff that what are we doing, man? I know at work, right? You might be dealing with that. Hey, so we're 3 weeks into the month, which is 1 month into the quarter, which means we're third of the way into the quarter. So, how's it going with your year-long plans? Well, they're year-long, so, I haven't made much progress, right? But you broke them down by quarter. So how you doing on this quarter's goals, development plan, huh? I don't know, man. So yeah, how's it going with your plans, huh, Buster? Yeah, no, this is a self-help podcast. I've said that many a time now. Well, how are you helping yourself? Now go ahead. I'd love to hear. Yeah? You going to the gym still? I hope your New Year's resolutions are going well. I still journal every day. I've been keeping at it. I think it's been very helpful. I've been enjoying it. It's nice just to have a record because it's a place to put your thoughts. Because if you don't put your thoughts anywhere, you just swim around up there, and then it's too much. Yeah. There needs to be a place. It's kind of like when you go to a nice restaurant and you do a coat check. That's what a journal is. Because when you go to a nice restaurant, you don't want to be like, oh, this is a little scratchy and a little too heavy, and now the temperature is wrong. It's nice to just hang up your coat and be like, when I'm done with this nice experience, I can still get my coat from that place. That's what a journal is. It's a nice place to put your coat so that you can go revisit it and grab it if you need it. But you don't have to just carry around a coat. That's the worst, right? When you're going to an outing with a group of friends or something, and you're like, is this going to be like an outdoor or indoor adventure? And they're like, yeah, hey, it's just going to be like, we're going to fill it out. It's going to be a vibe. I'm like, no, but what are we doing though? Because it's 60 degrees outside. So if we're inside, they might keep it a little warm. I don't want to have a jacket. But if we're outside, I need a jacket. So what are we doing? They're like, yeah, hey, I mean, whatever it is, we'll figure it out. Yeah. I'm like, I don't think I'm going to go. I think I'm busy that day. They're like, it's today. I'm like, no, I am. Yep. Perfect. That's great. I'm busy today. Oh, what are you doing? Not that. Okay. Name 3 things you're doing. Well, I'm going to do my laundry. I'm going to do dishes, and I'm going to feed my dog. They're like, what was that third thing? I'm going to feed my dog. You don't have a dog. I got one. Okay. Show a picture. Pull up a picture. I try to Google a picture. There's no service where I'm at. Fuck. Well, you can't find a picture? No, it's just all the pictures are on the iCloud. So I can't access them right now. Oh, okay. Did you take them in the past week? Yeah, it's a new dog. Right. So they should be in your recents. Listen, I don't want to be part of this friend group anymore, man. They're like, you don't own a coat, do you? I own a coat. It's just not being clear whether or not this is a coat outing or not, okay? You're sugarcoating the fucking details of the outing, and that's fucking me up, okay? So yeah, I highly recommend journaling so that you know what to do with your coat and doesn't get lost. A journal is a coat rack. And if you don't put anything in the coat rack, well, now it's just a rack. And that's actually a good thing because in the new year, I'm trying to get money on money, racks on racks. So people listen to this podcast? No, people enjoy it. People like it. Yeah, they say I have glorious hair. I'm a good listener. I ask great questions. It's a whole 9 yards. People are really enjoying it. So if you are enjoying it, make sure you leave a like. If you are on Spotify, make sure you leave that 5-star rating. Need that. Oh my God. Need that expeditiously. And if you need a song to listen to, I really like, it's from 2020, but I know this year my top listened to artist is definitely going to be Ray, and this song is going to help me get there, I bet. Natalie Don't by Ray. Give it a listen. I quite like it. And after you're done listening to that, yeah, add this podcast episode to the queue so you can listen to it again. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. And I will talk to you next week. Okay?